Hi, hello. It's Tuesday, May 27th. I had a couple thoughts about some things. I'm seeing videos and creators, and first and foremost, this is not by way of, trashing somebody else or, going against the psychic community, 4 a.m. club stuff. Like, this is absolutely not for the intention of that. But I do feel like I have a little bit of a different take on some people are doing videos about when it may happen, and I have been seeing things just a little bit differently, and I just wanted to put out there that this is the way because I got a hit yesterday is really what I want to get down to. That I was actually watching a video, I think it was Gia Prism, who actually mentioned another creator who I had already previously seen, and I can't remember her name at all. I can't remember her name. If I find it before I post this, I will tag it. But in Gia's video, she mentioned this other creator as somebody who they had both, without knowledge of each other having seen it, the movie reference Dave, with Kevin Kline from years and years ago, where he had to kind of step in and pretend to be the leader, because the actual leader, who he was like a carbon copy of, basically, was in like a medical emergency and unavailable to do the job. And so since last March, I had begun receiving information that a health episode would absolutely occur. At that time, I thought it would be before we got into the end of the year, possibly even, I actually kind of did think it was going to be before the contest took place in November. So I knew that it didn't feel imminent at that time. It feels much more imminent now, like very much for me energetically. But the first thing that I ever felt was something that felt very thick and kind of choky, hard in the throat. And after I'd made a video about this, I think it was March of 2024. After I had made that video, it had occurred to me kind of on my own, which I think was my guides kind of like knocking on my noggin, saying that's the same sensation that I tend to get in mediumship readings and things, where a loved one is trying to express the fact that they had been medically incapacitated in some way, and probably either intubated or on a vent or something along those lines. Trach, anything like that. So like an incapacitation in there, not able to speak, not able to breathe on their own, or at least needing assistance, that kind of thing. I have since felt like there is something within the cardiovascular system, and most likely head. Very, very much most likely head, straight through ever since that time. And I don't want to say the words, I just don't want to trigger anything, but I hope you're getting what I'm laying down, right? So when I saw Gia's video, and there's actually another younger intuitive, she actually reminds me of a young Samantha Faye, if anybody knows Samantha Faye from like the Enlightened Empaths podcast and things. Beautiful curly blonde hair, adorable, she kind of calls herself a baby intuitive. I think that she's doing a great job listening to her guides. She has also seen something like what Gia saw, and this other creator, I can't remember her name still, where they're getting this sense of it being hidden from the public for a period of time. And it was just yesterday that I saw Gia's video about that. And as I was watching it, what I got as a hit instead was, that's what already happened. And and this is just my opinion, TikTok, I have absolutely no hard evidence on this. This is just what my thoughts, feelings, sensations are. We're just talking here. It's just a conversation between friends. What I mean by that's what already happened was, for me, that hit where I have felt within my own soul convinced that this occurred, that an event occurred in September. when there was a rushing around down at that place in Palm Springs, Florida, or West Palm, whatever it is, West Palm, whatever it is, you know what I'm saying. That there were markings on the hand with, I personally heard 3 completely individually separate contradicting reports about why there were marks on the hand. And this and 4547 had sort of disappeared from the public for a number of days. And what did first reemerge were what seemed like some fake Twitter, the other side of Twitter, not Twitter, posts that actually did not follow his usual cadence of conversation and postings, right? And so to me at that time, it very much felt like an event had occurred and that was being kept from the public. Because what I feel may be most likely, the way that it has presented to me when like the big event occurs, is that we may know fairly quickly. I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't see something in public. I can't say that it looks exactly like that to me. It doesn't feel and look exactly like we're going to watch it, but I also wouldn't be surprised if we actually did watch something happen right there in public. But to me, it feels like we're probably going to know pretty quickly. It feels like a medical incapacitation for at least some period of time rather than an immediate gone. I hope that I spoke clearly enough in my code for that to make sense. I did a video a little while back about some things that absolutely don't make sense to me, how we could possibly ever get there, because it's not how the Constitution's written, it's not how the rules and guidelines are written, and I have no idea how we would get there. I see other people using the term council. I personally, before I had ever seen anybody else say anything about that months ago, was given the words panel of advisors, and I think it was electors will appoint was another part of that. Those were the 2 phrases that I had received. And that was a question of what will things look like by the end of 2025-ish range? Like, how's this all going to look by the end of the year kind of question. And timing is hard because Spirit has no time. There's no time space there. So them trying to put it in our time frame may not always work, and we may not interpret that correctly. I also want to once again be very clear that for me, I do not see Lotus stepping into that position. I don't. The energy was so big and it was so wild and it was so charged before everything that I had, yes, in fact, thought that that was who we were going to see anyway. That energy now to me feels like it is gone. Now, that's not to say that there won't ever be some sort of publicly held something for her. I don't think that it's like disappearing into the wings and never ever to be seen or heard from again. But I personally have not received anything, and just sitting with the energy around the idea of that, I personally do not get her coming into that position at all. So that may be disappointing to some. Personally, I just think it needs to be whoever it needs to be that's not this. So that being said, I'm going to leave you with that. I just wanted to drop that is a different viewpoint, different interpretation of the way it has been shown to me. This is a point where I am saying my interpretation. So I'll leave you with that. I wish you well, and we'll talk soon.